I think Della is going to get it done. I feel from talking to Tim and also seeing Della, and also I've only spotted Della once, well, like not really hard crazy, but and I didn't try and take him down at all, but I've seen him at your gym sparring, and his scrambles are crazy.
Yeah, he's got
Even
good
watching him
scrambles.
with Bilal as well and Gilbert Burns, his scrambles are crazy, and I feel Islam would feel like he bit off more than he could chew once he gets in there with him, because when he puts some things on him, he's like, oh shit, I'm not standing with this guy. I have to take him down. And then he tries, gets him down, and he gets back up, or he couldn't get him down because he's a big dude. People don't realize how big Della is as well. He's solid.
I think Islam's the match. I think that's what they want to do. He had a good run at lightweight, and I think he's keen to try and capture a second belt. So I think that's the fight that they're keen to make. And I think it's a good story. You know, Makhachev fought Volk here, and I like the matchups. You know, styles make fights, and I like the different challenges that every different fighter presents. So I'm just excited to get in there. Islam Makhachev is a better version of Bilal. The striking on the feet, I think it's easier than Bilal because he'll stay in one stance. He's more traditional style. But yeah, he's the pound for pound number one. So it's a tough fight. But I guess we'll watch all these fights again, make a solid game plan, and then just start working at it. From pretty much now, I'm going to start working on ways to beat him, different ways to get back to my feet, stuff in the takedown. But I'm pretty confident I can get this one done.
Islam Makhachev is making a bold move up to welterweight to challenge champion Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 322, but multiple fighters and analysts are sending clear warning messages to the Dagestani superstar. Could this be the fight that ends Makhachev's incredible 10-year winning streak? Let's break it down. First up, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Carlos Prates, the Brazilian welterweight contender who's set to face Leon Edwards on the same card, has made a bold prediction that's turning heads in the MMA community. Prates didn't mince words when he told Uncrowned, Jack has shown he's grown up a lot as a fighter. He defends takedowns, so I think he's gonna win. Yeah, I think it's a really hard fight.
The main event is also in your weight class, JDM and Islam. Who do you think is going to win that?
I think the favorite is Islam, but Jackie show like he grew up a lot as a fighter since his top fight. Now he was a long time without fight, almost 2 years, and he got really good skills to fight Belal Muhammad, defense takedowns. So I think he gonna win.
You think Jack is going to win?
Yeah,
Wow. Do you think he wins a decision or do you think he stops him?
I think decision is really hard fight.
You think Islam stays at 170 or he goes back?
If he lose, I don't know. It depends how he feels on during the fights. How close is gonna be the fight? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Now this isn't just some random fighter making noise. Prates knows what he's talking about. He was on a tear until Ian Gary handed him his first UFC loss. But what makes his prediction so significant is that he's specifically pointing to Della Maddalena's takedown defense as the key factor.
It is hard to try to get like an accurate gauge on what it's going to look like, not knowing how Islam is going to look when he moves up. Okay, it's always the question everybody asks when anybody is moving up a weight division or down a weight division. Okay, there's so many unknowns involved. But saying that, I think that Islam can do everything that Bilal does, but way better. Okay, way better. So, and the fight, I thought Jack handedly had the fight, but it was a fight. Okay, so I don't think it'll be an easy fight for Jack, but I believe in Jack. I think he's got that X factor. He's got that hunger there. You know, he's got the ticker. And, you know, just like with Bilal, just like with Burns before, I think he can do the impossible.
Think about it. Makhachev's entire game plan revolves around Dagestani wrestling. If JDM can keep it standing, we might see a very different fight than what most people expect. But let's not count out Islam just yet. His coach, Javier Mendez from American Kickboxing Academy, has some interesting insights about what gives Makhachev the edge at welterweight. Mendez told Submission Radio, "Out of all my lightweights, he is the strongest one out of all of them. I don't recall one lightweight stronger than him, not even close."
Yes, he's super strong. Out of all my lightweights, he is the strongest one out of all of them. I don't recall one lightweight stronger than him, not even close. He's the strongest. So out of everybody I have, he's the guy that has the best opportunity to be able to handle the strength of the bigger guys.
This is coming from a guy who's coached Khabib Nurmagomedov, Daniel Cormier, and countless other champions. When Mendez says Islam is the strongest lightweight he's ever trained, that carries serious weight. No pun intended. The question is, will that strength translate effectively at 170 pounds? Makhachev has been throwing around lightweights for years, but welterweights are naturally bigger and stronger. However, if Mendez is right about Islam's exceptional strength, he might just be able to handle that size difference better than most fighters moving up in weight.
I just think this guy JDM, he's good at boxing. He's good. The way he was doing the sweep and he working on his grappling, I think he's going to be a very tough matchup to Islam Makhachev, especially because, like you say, it's not easy to move up divisions. You know, you have to gain a lot of weight. You have to put a lot of muscle. You have to put a lot of strength and training. And I just don't know. I think it's not going to be an easy fight for both. And if I had to put my money, I would put on JDM.
Now let's get into some real fight analysis from the American gangster himself, Chael Sonnen. Sonnen basically threw cold water on the whole who's the better striker debate, and his reasoning is absolutely fascinating. Sonnen argues that striking comparisons are essentially meaningless in MMA. It's not the inability of the takedown, it's the threat of the takedown that changes your stand-up.
And it's not the inability of the takedown, it's the threat of the takedown that changes your stand-up. We have seen some of the best and most decorated kickboxers in the world not only lose in the first round, we've seen them knocked out on their feet in the first round. And it's not because the guy was better at the stand-up.
He's got a point here. We've seen world-class kickboxers get knocked out on their feet in the first round, not because their opponent was a better striker, but because the fear of being taken down completely changed their game. Think about it. Della Maddalena might be the more technical striker, but if he's constantly worried about Islam shooting for takedowns, his entire striking approach changes. He can't plant his feet, he can't commit to combinations, and he's always thinking about that takedown threat. Sonnen sums it up perfectly. It's the guy that decides, are we on our feet or are we on the ground? That is your champion.
It's the same as it's been since '93 until now. It's the guy that decides, are we on our feet or are we on the ground? That is your champion. That is your winner of every fight, every time. He's better in the stand-up. What a dork! What's that even mean?
This brings us back to Prates' prediction. If JDM can confidently defend those takedowns, he can dictate where the fight takes place. But that's a massive if. Let's talk about what's really at stake here at Madison Square Garden. Islam Makhachev isn't just moving up in weight, he's chasing history. If he wins, he becomes a two-division champion and potentially sets himself up as one of the greatest fighters of all time. But here's where it gets interesting. Makhachev has already vacated his lightweight title to focus on this welterweight challenge. That's not something you do unless you're absolutely confident. The pressure is enormous. For Della Maddalena, this is the biggest fight of his career. The Australian has shown incredible growth, and as Prates mentioned, his takedown defense has improved significantly. But defending against Islam Makhachev's wrestling is like defending against a hurricane. You can prepare all you want, but when it hits, it's a different story.
But the point I'm making is that Bilal is, I mean, he was the 170 champ. Islam's the 155 champ. You know, they're very, very close in their abilities. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Bilal would beat Islam, but he was the champion in the weight class above, and they do have very comparable skill sets. So if Jack was able to beat Bilal, there's a really good shot. This isn't like Islam's going to walk up to 170 and just walk through Jack Della Maddalena. This is a real fight.
The fascinating subplot here is that multiple fighters are openly questioning whether Makhachev can handle the step up in competition. That's rare in a sport where fighters usually stay diplomatic about upcoming title fights. So how does this fight actually play out, based on everything we've analyzed? But, and this is a big but, Makhachev's wrestling is just on another level. Even if his takedown success rate drops from 90% to 60% at welterweight, that might still be enough.
Do you believe that Islam could be the 185-pound champion if he wanted to, let's say, jump from 155 to middleweight at 185?
I 100% feel Islam can do that if that's what he wanted to do. But it's what he wants to do that will happen, not his ability. His ability, come on, I see it in the gym, guys. I see it. So I know how good this guy is. So yeah, 185 is not going to be an issue for him. It's a matter of whether he wants to. When he comes in training camp, he's always walking around 179, 180. So obviously, if he ever went to middleweight, he'd have to put on some muscle. But not saying he can't, and not saying he won't or doesn't want it. I don't know. We never discussed it. We have discussed welterweight, but again, as long as Bilal's there, that I just don't see that ever happening.
The real wild card is Makhachev's strength. If Mendez is right and Islam can physically handle welterweights despite the size difference, then all those warnings from Pirates and others might not matter. What do you think? Is Makhachev's strength in wrestling just too much for any welterweight to handle? Drop your predictions in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more UFC breakdowns and analysis. UFC 322 at Madison Square Garden is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable title fights of the year. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
You know, that fight has me like second guessing how well Islam's going to do. Now, I think Islam's going to win, but and the reason why I say that is because, look, not only am I just biased because he's an AKA guy, but I want you guys to think about this. JDM said it himself. People think that he's going to take me down and submit me. And if you're saying that, then whether you're saying it just in like, hey, that's what people think, you've thought it yourself. And so he's going to be extremely focused on stopping, Islam's takedowns. But they're not going to be the same type of takedowns that Bilal shoots. They're not going to be the same type of takedowns that Gilbert Burns shoots. They're going to be a little bit more effortless. They're going to be a little bit more, in the clinch inside a phone booth.
A major warning from one of MMA's most respected coaches, bold predictions from UFC analysts, and everything you need to know about the highly anticipated UFC 322 welterweight title fight. UFC 322 is shaping up to be one of the biggest cards of the year, headlined by Islam Makhachev's ambitious move up to welterweight to challenge champion Jack Della Maddalena. But recent comments from both camps suggest this fight might be closer than many expected. Let's dive right in.
I think this week, and he broke down that he believes Islam's stand-up is a little bit easier to deal with than Bilal's because Islam has more of a traditional style for his stand-up. Do you feel like people are kind of missing some of the X factors that Islam brings with his striking?
If he's saying that, I hope that he goes in believing that, because when he gets in there with Islam, you're going to find out a whole different story because I'm sorry, they're completely different. And by no means is Islam an easy for anybody to understand. Any MMA fighter that's a striker, that's not going to have an easy time with him. I've been with this kid like going on 11 years of watching him just destroy everybody on the stand-up, guys that are much better stand-up than him, and he still destroys them. So, no. Don't go by what you see. When you get in there with that man, it's a whole different ballgame.
We start tonight with breaking news from the Makhachev camp. Legendary coach Javier Mendez has sent a clear warning message that's turning heads throughout the MMA community. For the first time in his coaching relationship with Islam Makhachev, Mendez is taking an unprecedented approach to fight preparation. In a recent interview with Submission Radio, Mendez made a stunning admission. "I've never watched a tape for an Islam fight. Never. This is the first time because I respect this guy that much, and he's a puzzle. He's not that easy. I'm telling you, he's not that easy. We'll get him, but he's not that easy, and I have to be confident that we'll get him."
Wow. I never watched tape by Islam. I never. This is the first time because I respect this guy that much, and he's a puzzle. He's not that easy. I'm telling you, he's not that easy. So we'll get him. I believe we'll get him, but he's not that easy.
We'll think about that for a moment. This is the same coach who guided Khabib Nurmagomedov to an undefeated career and has overseen Makhachev's dominant 12-fight win streak. Yet for the first time ever, he's felt compelled to study tape on an opponent. This speaks volumes about the respect and concern the Makhachev camp has for Jack Della Maddalena. Mendez's warning isn't just coach speak. It's a genuine acknowledgement that Della Maddalena presents unique challenges that require special preparation. The fact that a coach of Mendez's caliber is breaking his routine shows just how seriously they're taking this Australian champion.
Islam at any weight does great. Obviously, at 170 is going to be an adjustment, but Islam's a big boy, and he's going to settle into the 170 weight class fine. JDM is a freaking terror, man. His hands, his ability to go head and body. It's a tough fight for anybody. I think JDM obviously winning the title, the first title defense is kind of that litmus test for a guy. Does that belt being on your shoulder, around your waist, on your mantle, does it give you the type of confidence where you feel like you're invincible, or does it add a crazy amount of pressure where now you fight not to lose instead of fight to win? So I think that's my perspective on it. But I think Islam at 170 is going to be just as dominant as he was at 155. That's my personal take. He's a hard puzzle to solve, man. And he is a strangler, and he is a strong dude, and his hands are getting much, much better. So we've continued to see him improve over the years, and I think Islam wins it at 170.
But Mendez isn't just issuing warnings, he's also revealing what he believes will be Islam's key to victory at welterweight. According to the veteran coach, Makhachev possesses a physical attribute that even surpasses his legendary teammate Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think the biggest thing on our side is that he's very strong. Very strong. He's super, super strong. Out of all my lightweights, he is the strongest one out of all of them. I don't recall one lightweight stronger than him. Not even close. He's the strongest.
I think the biggest thing on our side is he's very, very strong. Very strong. So, yes, he's super, super strong. Out of all my lightweights, he is the strongest one out of all of them. I don't recall one lightweight stronger than him. Not even close. He's the strongest. So,
this is a remarkable statement when you consider that Mendez has coached some of the most physically dominant fighters in MMA history, including Khabib. To say that Makhachev is stronger than any lightweight he's ever worked with, including the Eagle himself, is significant praise. But why is this strength so crucial for the welterweight move? Mendez explains, out of everybody I have, he's the guy that has the best opportunity to handle the strength of the bigger guys.
So out of everybody I have, he's the guy that has the best opportunity to be able to handle the strength of the bigger guys.
The size jump from lightweight to welterweight is substantial. Fighters at 170 pounds are naturally bigger, stronger, and more physically imposing. Many doubted whether Makhachev could handle this transition, but his coach's confidence in his pupil's raw strength suggests they've found the key to competing with the welterweight elite. While the Makhachev camp exudes confidence, not everyone in the MMA community is backing the former lightweight champion. UFC analyst and former fighter Din Thomas has made a bold prediction that's sending shockwaves through the sport.
Before we end round one, a few weeks ago, I was calling the fight, and it said, mute DC's mic. And Jack Della Maddalena actually was the one to retweet it. Did you see that?
I saw that. I'm like, yo, man, what's up with this cat?
So what's up with Jack? So I just texted Far Jack. I go, Jack, wrong, bruh. What's up? Why, Jack? Why? And Jack Della wrote back, the champ. The champ just wrote back, my bad, DC. It was a bad take. Listen, so hats up to the boy Jack Della Maddalena for responding to me when I said that. But I said, yo, Jack, what's up, baby? I've always been respectful. He go, my bad, DC. Bad take.
Yeah, man, I don't like that, DC. You know how I feel about these dudes disrespecting the champ.
Thomas is picking Jack Della Maddalena to defeat Islam Makhachev at UFC 322, and his reasoning centers around one key factor, Craig Jones. He's a breath of fresh air, and I'm with Brady on this one. I'm picking him to beat Islam. I think that Craig Jones is the answer to this. I think Craig Jones's approach to MMA and using jiu-jitsu for MMA is the answer.
Yeah. But he's a breath of fresh air, and I'm actually I'm with Brady on this one. I'm picking him to beat Islam.
Wow.
I'm picking him to beat Islam. I think that Craig Jones is the answer in this. I think Craig Jones's approach to MMA and using jiu-jitsu for MMA.
For those unfamiliar, Craig Jones is a world-renowned Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner who's been working closely with Della Maddalena on his grappling game. Thomas believes Jones has developed a unique approach that could neutralize Makhachev's legendary wrestling. Thomas elaborated, I think the answer lies within Craig Jones's approach of blending in a jiu-jitsu style that these guys aren't familiar with. We've seen it when Alexander Volkanovski fought Islam, and we've seen it when Jack fought Bilal.
I don't think that works. I think the answer lies within Craig Jones's approach of blending in a jiu-jitsu style that these guys aren't familiar with. And we've seen it when Alexander Volkanovski fought Islam, and now we've seen it when Jack fought Bilal.
The analyst predicts a late surge from Della Maddalena. I think Jack loses the first 2 rounds possibly, but I think he comes back and does damage later in the fight. Thomas even suggests that if Della Maddalena can stuff Makhachev's takedowns consistently, Islam might end up getting knocked out in a situation like that.